So anyone that's following the stock market this week, even a little bit, even if you're not,
It's volatile.
it's volatile. All right, you got the right word. It's volatile.
It's on a slump.
Insane. No, but it went down 400, down 1,200, up 400, up 600, down 400, down 1,200 today.
Bitcoin.
It's like a Bitcoin.
crazy.
It's like crazy.
But did you hear about it in Manhattan?
Not normal. Not
You're
normal.
I heard it from Trump.
From Trump. But yeah, Trump keeps saying that it's great, and Be'ez Hashem, it will be great. But
Oh, great again.
I have an interesting story. My friend of mine is into it, and so he was last Friday. He's trying to focus more on learning. It's a struggle. A Kitzer last Friday, he just opened up the computer to check it out a little bit, and he sees history in the making, being that it fell 1,200 points, the Dow, in one day, which was beyond anything. A normal big day is like 200-300 points. 1,200 points was insane. So as he sees it happening, he starts going crazy because he has this thing and that thing, and so he starts trading this way and that way and trying to double his money in that way and put his money in this thing, and he was going a little wild with it. He was going crazy. And in such a volatile day, he was just losing everything. Everything was just going crazy. And so he put in, I don't know, let's make a number, $10,000, and it was just gone. You know, and he was trying this thing and that thing. Finally, at 12 o'clock, it was Friday afternoon, he has a thing, says in halacha, you're supposed to stop doing malacha at 12 o'clock, you're supposed to start getting ready for Shabbos. Don't even travel, according to some shittas, all the different chatzos. But, you know, he doesn't know necessarily every week what time exactly chatzos is, so he keeps it as 12 o'clock in his mind. So at 12 o'clock, 12:10, so at 12 o'clock, he takes all of his stocks that he's playing with still and puts it on order, which means that he basically says, if and when it hits, you know, this and this low, then buy it. And if it hits this and this thing, then keep it, whatever. At that point, he had lost all his money. Closes it, goes to the mikveh, gets ready for Shabbos, ruhig, calm, spends the whole Shabbos. He turns on his phone. It's a Shabbos. He looks at it, and at like 3 o'clock, it went down and hit the exact point, like within like 3 points that he put into order. He bought all the stocks, and then it went right back up enough that he made back all of the money that he lost. He didn't make any money in that day because it was such a crazy day, but he made back all the money. So the nekuda is that I wanted to come from that was, we're getting to Mishpatim, and Mishpatim, you start going from all the fun stories of the Avos HaKadoshim, and now you start getting to the nitty-gritty of the laws and the rules, and you're like, oh boy, you know, it was all fun and games till you get to Mishpatim. But now, the first and foremost thing I think to recognize is that the rules and the laws that we have in place in our life, based on the Torah, are the most awesome, perfect laws and rules to make us mamish healthy. Like we have physical health, we have our bodies, and when we eat garbage, we eat, you know, cholent and coleslaw and all this stuff, deep fried, and we eat all this stuff. So we think that we're, you know, tricking the system and having a great life as we get larger and larger and larger and larger and larger until, you know, I don't know what happens. But the point is that there's no tricking the system. Everyone knows you want to be healthy, you got to cut down on sugars, you got to cut down on this, you got to eat basically grass, you know, green stuff all day long, and drink water. But you have to do that. You have to exercise. You have to move. You have to do things that are a little difficult. But there is a rule and law. There are rules and laws in your body that will make you healthy, and there are other stuff that won't. Same thing with Yiddishkeit, with the spiritual realm, which is really our inner world. That there are rules and laws, and now we're starting to get to some of the nitty-gritty laws and rules. But to keep that in mind, that these are the things that mamish keep us alive. These are the things that give us the most health, spiritual health. But more than that, like Zavi said, you're going to have to find some Hasidic vertlach in Mishpatim. That's not going to be so easy. But there is. It's just filled. It's just filled with depth. Why? Because the truth of the matter is that every single din and every single word in the Torah is just filled with deep meaning. And you don't have to go to the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah, obviously, you'll have infinite meaning. You know, you have permutations and shemus and everything. You can go to the Bible codes and everything, you know. But you could just go even to very simple things that are from the dinim that you could learn, you could see in life. There is a din, just for one example. A sharmuad, right? This is, what is it, Bava Kama? The stuff with sharmuad, you know. I didn't do so well in those years of the yeshiva. But you have the whole din, right? You have a domesticated animal, a shar, an ox, or whatever it is, and he gores 3 times. So in the first 3 times, he pays chatzi nezek, half damages, and then the 3rd time, he's already a muad, and he got to pay the whole deal, right? And the Gemara speaks about a muad l'Shabbos, a shar that gores 3 times on 3 Shabbosais. So he's considered muad l'Shabbos, meaning if he gores another animal or damages someone on Shabbos, he's got to pay the full damage. And if it's on the weekday, he's not considered muad for the weekday. Right, exactly. So that's the question that everyone's going crazy on. What does that mean? Doesn't make much sense. So, what do we do when we have a question in the Gemara? We go to Rashi. What does Rashi say? Why would this be? He says, because there's a reason. Because on Shabbos, there is a law, that is Shvisas Behemta, which you learned in last week's Parsha, which means that you cannot use your animals, they can't do any avodah on Shabbos for you. They're supposed to also be relaxed.
Keep Shabbos.
They have to keep Shabbos. They have to have cholent and relax a little bit and take a Shabbos afternoon nap.
Nice.
Yeah. But the problem is that an ox has a lot of rage and a lot of chias and energy. And if he sits there bored, during the week, he's schlepping the thing and plowing and you're making him work more and more. He's busy. Shabbos, Rashi says, he's bored. And when he's bored, he goes crazy. And he'll see some kid there and he'll just start goring the kid. Right? So that's why he's considered a muad l'Shabbos, only for Shabbos, because during the week he doesn't even have that thing. So what do you see from there? This is just to bring out the depth, is that when you see a kid, when you see a person, and he's angry and he's goring people and he's angry and he's doing all these things, sometimes just don't just say, what an angry guy, or what an angry kid, or, a guy, going off the derech nebuch, he must be, I don't know why he's doing this, what is he doing? No.
Keep him occupied so he wouldn't do unnecessary things.
If he what? If you keep him occupied, boredom leads to more bad things, more machlokes, and more things than anything.
The takeaway from this ox is Yafet Talmud Torah im derech eretz. Right? It's a Mishnah in Perkei Avos.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Derech eretz, working, like whatever, being
busy
and
yeah.
learning Torah.
Right.
It's good because together they
Mishkacha
forget sin.
Mishkacha Zaman. Right. That's most of the Mefarshim learn very clearly that it's just
That's what the bull is doing?
No, but the bull doesn't learn Torah, sadly. He really he has he has fused ganglion for a brain, and he lacks the distinctive capabilities of learning Torah. Volatile brain, and so he basically cannot learn Torah. So all he does is work. But on Shabbos, so he can't work. He's mamish bored. The Mishpacha magazine is just not doing it for him. So he starts going. So again, some kids also, some people, when you see them going, you see them being angry, just think. It just sometimes it has to do with just plain old boredom. And people are bored, they get involved in all the foolish things in the world. The Tosfos, let's go to the other side of the spectrum. Tosfos says a different reason, which also gives perspective. He says that the reason why the ox, this is an interesting thing, it goes back to, I think, Spain, where they do the bull run. You ever see those things? Where they just release 100 bulls in a city with very thin, it's in Europe, I don't know where they do that. Just release a bull, 100 bulls, and everyone just runs.
Down the alley.
And it's part of a fun, part of big parts of a big festival.
Until someone gets hurt.
No, people always get hurt. It's like European humor. No, you gotta appreciate European humor. Apparently, Americans, we just I don't know, jump off planes and
do rodeos.
Rodeos, I guess. Yeah, but it's not the same. It's just a charging bull at you. Run. Yeah, bull run. So the bull run. So what happens? The bulls are really responsive to colors. I don't know exactly what the whole nakuda is. Red. They respond to colors. So what in the olden days, back in the day before the Streimel and Bekachas came into fashion, I don't even know if that has anything to do with it, but they would have one pair of clothing for the weekday and one special pair of clothing for Shabbos that was different looking. So this bull, the whole week, was used to the master, and the master looks brown, and all of a sudden Shabbos comes in, it's white. So he goes crazy.
He's wearing a
Red
red tie.
tie.
Exactly.
It was the red tie again.
Jeez.
But
they go nuts. They go red. That's what they hold. They
the red flag thing, yeah. So
it's a myth. So it's not a true thing.
Why the Gemara says
checkers.
they're
colorblind, right?
It's
It could be because you're waving it.
They
Yeah.
get giddy when they see different colors.
But the point,
The ox is not wild. It's only wild when it sees these clothes. It's not wild.
you have you have
In
to.
relation to these things, he's
Uh,
wild. So on
we'll
a
ask.
Tuesday, not
We'll
wild.
ask Google after share.
I've seen it live. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Google
Right.
knows everything.
There's
You'll
no
ask
pattern.
Google.
The blue cloth.
They're inherently
So
wild.
the nakuda is that again that there's a difference in the clothing, and that's what makes it aggressive. So again, it's not necessarily that someone is acting out of aggression because he's an angry person or he's an aggressive person. Sometimes it's just because he's not able to deal with his surroundings. I was just speaking to someone, and they were saying that there's. Oh, I'll see you. Have a good one. There's someone that feels. Guy feels like he doesn't want to be around the family and be around religious functions because obviously he's not doing so well religiously. So he said, so his family was like, okay, so we try to be as kind as possible and everything. So I realized though that it has nothing to do with you could make believe like you're nice to someone and everything, but if the person feels threatened by your very existence, by the way you dress and everything, if they dress totally differently. So it just feels awkward. It feels different, and it feels like something's not normal. So, being that that's the case, a person naturally is going to feel aggressive and uncomfortable in such a circumstance. Nothing new about that. But what do you see from that is that you see that there's depth in that. Reb Nosson has a famous shtickle that gave me a lot of clarity in life. He says, "Yish lemidas," the famous sugya, that if we have something that falls out of our pocket, we don't know about it. Is it considered yish, even though we don't yet know about it? Or not. My famous Machloikis, Rava and Abaya. So, Nosson says, I don't understand. If I have something in my pocket, then it's mine. I own it, and it's in my pocket. If it's in my chutzner, it's in my house, then it's mine. But if it falls out of my pocket, then what makes it mine? Nothing. It's in the street. Why would it be mine? How could I ever even hold any connection to it? So he says, why? Because it's actually brought down, I saw in Rishonim afterwards, that there's two levels of ownership. There's a whole raid in it. Or level of ownership of the actual physical ownership, and then there's the rutzon. Reb Nosson says that the chayfetz is rutzon, and it's also the chayfetz. When a lost object is called a chayfetz. Why? Because you desire it, you yearn for it. Yeah. So he says that even though you lost the physical ownership, you still have yearning for it, so it's still connected to you somehow. You have that like remote control, Bluetooth connected ownership. So when I thought about that, I realized something very amazing. And this is all in the dinim of, finding a lost object, is that when I have my watch, I don't have my watch right now, it's in the shop, but if I have my watch, every day I wear my watch, so I appreciate it. Not much. It's my watch. I wear it, even if it's Rolex. After a while, you get used to everything. Tainig to me, the ain't a tainig, right? You get used to everything. Nothing a human being won't get used to, no matter how unbelievable. Ta'anug to me, the ta'anug.
Oh, you always have
a constant pleasure.
The kid that had a trampoline in the
is not a
backyard
pleasure.
never used it.
Exactly.
If you get like a Range Rover, you're not gonna want it after like a week.
No, it's when you won't want it.
You
won't appreciate it. You won't appreciate it.
Find the car you do like.
Yeah.
Get your eyes on that.
Right.
But you're not going to appreciate it.
Right.
One gets a Range Rover, you're not gonna.
First
You
2
won't appreciate
weeks.
it for 3 weeks.
2-3 weeks. And then you're just going to drive it like a regular Ford Fusion.
Pleasure does not. Pleasure does not bring happiness, right?
But success, when you succeed, you work on something, you achieve a goal or something, you learn, you daven, you build a house, you work. There's something. There's no emotions to it, but that's what makes you really happy.
Success.
Yigia
kapecha. Right.
Wow.
Yigia kapecha k'toicha.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the malacha.
There's no.
5 seconds later, you want another one.
Yeah. I mean, that's the chiddush in Taivas Achila is actually one of the things that, you could eat a lot, but eventually you get stuffed and you get sick.
You're still going to want two.
But right, that's what they say about kavod and things like that.
Two, you feel, I built a house.
Always castable yitzvah.
Right. The thing is that, again, tainik to me, the tainik. There's no tainik. So when I have my watch, when I have my computer, I don't really appreciate it. No matter, you think, what's his name? Trump appreciates his jet, every time he comes in. If I'd have a jet, I'd appreciate it. It's like you have a bedroom, you sleep, you go, fly. He doesn't appreciate it. He doesn't think about it. It's just like his jet when the engine breaks and it's not ready, right? When he wants it, and he's annoyed, But I don't appreciate things. That's normal human nature. So, what is it that when I have my watch, I don't appreciate it. But then when I lose it, and someone tells me, all of a sudden I realize that I lose it, all of a sudden I have tremendous desire for it. All of a sudden, and where was that desire? right? Because again, a person has physical ownership and he has desire for it. But when we have physical ownership of something, and Reb Nosson actually connects it to nasa v'nishma. The physical ownership is the nasa, and nishma is the yearning for it. Because when we have the nasa, we have the physical ownership of something, it overwhelms the nishma, that inner rutzon that we actually have for the thing. And therefore we don't even feel it. And the second that we all of a sudden take that away, we start to go, oh my gosh, my watch, I love it and I need it, and we start feeling that yearning again. So if you use that for a derech avoda, you can do that with anything. Just take it away. And it's a very big focus for appreciation. You have your car, just close your eyes and imagine it gone for a week in a shop, and you're like scrounging around with some rental. What? Feel like you're handicapped. But imagine it in your head and realize that if Yutaka wouldn't have it, then you'd have such a desire for it. And then that desire builds up your desire to actually appreciate it, to open your eyes and say, wow. I mean, I had a surgery 6 months ago, a simple hernia surgery, but it's not so simple any surgery. And you're out for lunch for like a good 2 weeks. You could barely move.
Really?
Just moving off the bed was just excruciating pain. And there's this one turn here in Muncie that there's like a bump on it. And every single time after I actually was able to drive a car after like 2 weeks, every time for like a month that I went on that, it was just pain. Like boom, the bump would be so painful. And now every time I try to drive over that, and there's 1,000 times that I don't think about it, but if I do catch myself, I'm like, wow, it doesn't hurt. Appreciate it, with everything. We say Asher Yatzar, all these things. We have to basically use that to help us appreciate things. But one of the Nekudas is that we can start off with here. There's depth in all the halachas and all the things, but we'll take a look a little bit to see a little bit more, a little bit deeper also from some of the words in the parsha. It starts off Mishpatim asher tasim lefneihem, right? And it says that you should place it before them, meaning place it before Klal Yisrael, k'shulchan aruch, which is one of the most powerful Rashis in the world for all teachers and for all students, that when Rebbe's teaching, you're giving over, it should be clear. Students should not have to sit there trying to break themselves, because there's two guys in the back or in the front that know everything, and you're flying into 10 different spots and things, and no one knows what's going on. It should be clear for everyone. Teaching should be clear. And so that's the first thing. We'll get back to that Nekuda. And the next pasuk says, Ki sikne eved ivri, right? It starts off with this whole deal with eved ivri, and that's, right, that pasuk is like, even if you got some chiyas from Elam Mishpatim, K'shulchan Aruch, you're like, wow, that's a cool pasuk, a nice lesson. Starts, Ki sikne eved ivri, you're like, oh, at least me. You're like, okay, 7 years, 6 years, what do you do? What's the halacha? Can you marry a shifcha? Can you not marry a shifcha? Yovel waited 50. You start making like these cheshbonis. All of a sudden, the whole Torah starts getting into all these laws and rules for the next 30 parshas, and you're like, okay, where did the nice stories go? Where did the Medrash says go? So, Rav Simcha Shor, I just heard him last night. He was here in Orach Chaim, 18 Shea, and he said over, he's Rav Gedalia Shor's son, maybe Rav Avram Shor's brother, Rav Tzvi Meyer's uncle, so on and so forth. Rav Tzvi Meyer Zilberberg, his mother's Shor, Rav Gedalia Shor's daughter. Yeah. So he said over a very interesting thing. He said, Sikne Eved Ivri, Sikne, he probably said it over from someone. Sikne is a lashon of purchase, but it also has the same isis as tikkun. He says that the whole Eved Ivri is being sold because he stole. And Rashi says, why did he steal? What was the whole thing? Part of the whole tikkun is that he gets his ears pierced. Why? Because here he didn't listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Sinai. And he also, the Midrashim say that he stole the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. Meaning he was going off and going into this guy's house in the machteres in a tunnel and stealing from the guy as if no one's going to see. And even if he doesn't get caught, as if no one sees. Meaning he thinks that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't exist and Hashem's not seeing him. So he's basically playing games with Hashem. So from that, he has to get sold in this whole process. But don't think of the process, he was saying, as being like some sort of punishment. It's a tikkun. He's sick in Eved Ivri when Eved Ivri was going to be sold, and he's going to be, what?
It's a process.
It's a process of coming back to the tshuva and coming back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right?
There's the famous mushal with the car.
With the car. What's the mushal?
Guy bought an expensive car, and they told him if you only put expensive oils,
Right.
Then he comes back to the mechanic. He says it's broken, the car. So what's going on? He took a cheap oil change. So the guy said, "I'm not punishing you that the car is not working. It's an instinct. It's automatic. It's a consequence.
Right.
You buy an expensive car.
You bought a car.
Cheap oil change. So when a guy does an avida and then something happens to him because of the avida, like he gets a punishment or something.
Right.
It's not that Hashem wants to punish him. It's automatic. It's
right.
a part of the process.
So that's that's truthfully that's what we were saying before, that there's a reality to the spiritual world just as there is to a physical world. And just as when you put cheap oil into an expensive car, it'll ruin it. So when you put cheap garbage into your soul, it'll ruin it, and then there'll be consequences. But over here, he's saying also is that the punishments not only are a natural, outcome of what we do, but they're also the tikkun. They're also the rectification. They're the punishments that will and can bring us back to fix what we've broken.
That's not the punishment. That's the process of bringing it back. Like you have to spend now $2,000-$3,000 to fix the car. It's not a punishment. That's very hard to spend, but it's part of the process to bring it back. So
right.
When you get a punishment, it's not a punishment. It's more the process of coming back.
That's true in the sense of let's bring it down to the spiritual realm, and we'll get back to the physical realm. Rabbi Jacobson brings down, which is as is known to those that know l'chayra sichos from the Rebbe, from the Babish Rebbe, that he asks, why is it that the Ganav has to pay double thing? What do we see the depth? Again, we're trying to uncover the depth of all these things. So he says the Ganav he's stealing from you, meaning you have a Ganav inside. You have a little guy inside you that's always digging holes into your heart and trying to steal your holiness and your inner happiness from you. He's called the Yetzer Hara. And when he steals from you, so when he gets caught and when you come back, he's got to pay double. Which means that when you do tshuva, like it says, the doinus are nasa. If you do tshuva me'ahava, then you get the doinus can come to zechuyos. That the very sin that you did mamash against Hashem become the greatest thing that they're actually considered like zechuyos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, merits, good things that you did to Hashem. How is that possible? Because, and as you see behechlet in the world very clearly and openly, that Balei Tshuva that come back to Hashem, they have a fire and a purity and a realness that's not found by, sadly, but not found by the average Joe average Jew in Brooklyn, shall we call him, not to stereotype Brooklyn.
Average Jew in Muncie.
Average Jew in Muncie, which is the Brooklyn of the 90s, now. But the Nakuda is that we see that they come back, they come back with more koiches. Why? Because that's part of the whole thing. The whole thing is that when we come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if we come back, if we catch the Ganav, if we catch ourselves doing the things, and sometimes we catch ourselves with the very punishment that's a natural reaction to a consequence to what we've done, but if and when we can take that back and bring it back, we get back double. We get back even more than we were doing before. And you see that, like we're saying, this week to connect it to Parsha Shkalim, he's getting shpeit, but to connect it to Parsha Shkalim, Moshe Rabbeinu was shown a fiery shekel of gold, right? He didn't know what the shekel was, so all sorts of questions, but what's the pshat that he was shown a fiery shekel of gold, half a shekel? What? Because as is known, as the Vertlech say, that you got to serve Hashem with fire, right? You got to serve Hashem with fire. Whatever avodas Hashem you're doing, it's got to be with fire. If it was just shown a vision of a shekel, that would be nice, but no, it's got to be done with fire, and and that comes out in a lot of ways, and we see that. Rav Nachman speaks about this. He says that when a person does tshuva, so it's very nice if a person says, Hashem, the last 5 years of my life were a waste, and I see now that I was wrong. I want to serve you, Hashem. So that's nice. And he says, and he could do a real tshuva. He says, but what about the 5 years? Those 5 years, the Lamaisa, were wasted. You don't have. So Hashem gives him extra fire and passion that he does so much in the next 5 years that it makes up for those 5 years. He's able to accomplish incredible amounts. I remember in base, when I was in base back in the day. If he's for real. And there was a guy that came in, and I was more of the yeshiva background. I spent a good 6 to 8 years listening to shiurim, and that's about it. So I had at least vocabulary. I had at least some sort of way of reading the Gemara or something. I had guys that came up off the streets, like from places that like they barely knew how to read a word, and they would come for like a summer's man. At the end of the 3 months summer's man, this guy was like learning better than me. I was like, incredible, they just had a fire and they just put themselves into it, and it's Siyata Shmaya that the fire mamish made up for so much time. We have to serve Hashem with fire. There was a slightly humorous story that Satmar Rebbe went to a convention once. This was before he was Rebbe, but he was a chashav, a Rav, and he went to a convention with Rabbanim, rabbinic convention. So there's all sorts of rabbis there from all the sectors of Judaism, and the Satmar Rebbe didn't care about one thing. When they came to daven, he davened with all his koiches, with making motions and doing all sorts of wild things. And so one of the esteemed rabbis came over to him afterwards and he said, "Wow, I wasn't aware that it was Purim today. So interesting." And so the Satmar Rebbe, without missing a beat, he said, "And if I would have known I was meeting Haman today, I would have bought my grogger."
Nice.
So we have to know we have to do it. Why? Because this is all shkalim. Shkalim is the fire of the shekel. We're coming into Adar. Adar is all about wiping out Amalek, and Amalek is all like, dude, you could be a Jew, you could serve Hashem, you can go to minyan 3 times a day. I remember, I don't know, whoever knows Akiva Weinstein will appreciate the story much more. We were once in a shul on Purim, and he was quite inebriated at that point, and there was some guy learning there. It was Purim afternoon, come on,
Serving the cipher.
I don't know if it's also David Sefer. The guy was sitting in shul learning. A beautiful thing. I'm not saying it was already Suda time. It was, I guess it was a little bit before. In Israel, they start Sudas maybe at 2-3. It was like 1:30. They were coming for Mincha. But he was already well into the drinking stage of life, as his minhag there. And so this guy was like, "Shush, disturbing his shul, Kalas Rosh." He started giving him, he was wearing, like a onesie with like a purple hat sticking out and like huge flapping 4-foot long shoes. He just like walked over to the guy and go, "Have you ever learned the Daf Yomi in a hermetically sealed room with no human beings, no oxygen?" He was like just cursing him out a little bit. He was like, "Get a life, it's Purim." It was very funny.
Wait, I don't get that line about a Daf Yomi and the hermetic, wasn't it?
You had to be there.
Who said that to who?
Akiva said it to this guy. The guy that was like learning on Purim. He goes like, "Stop learning in hermetically sealed rooms. It's Purim. Drink a little bit and have fun. Get out of your box." Put it that way. That Amalek is. I'm not saying that guy was Amalek. That guy is probably a holy Jew, and all Jews are holy. But Amalek is the type of guy that gets us to be a Jew. Go to shul, and I daven mincha, ma'ariv and shachris. I go and I look the look, and I'll do everything. But everything,
I do the daf.
Everything is bekrirut, cold, man, with no feeling, no fire, no passion. Just do it because we do it, and if you have passion in it, you're meshugana. So that's Amalek. So our whole avodah now, from all of this that we're learning, is that we got to come back to Hashem, and we got to come back with more fire and more passion than we can imagine. That's the whole. Why do we drink so much in Purim? Obviously, you're not supposed to drink, and not suggesting you should drink.
You are supposed to drink, and I'm suggesting.
You are supposed to drink.
We have to put in perfume.
Ask your local Orthodox rabbi about what to do. What to do with Lamaisa? You have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi. But the nikud is that people let loose. Purim's about letting loose. It's about when you get to that place where you don't care anymore, that your passion comes out, your fire comes out. This week's parsha, we'll connect it to this week's parsha to Midvar Shekar Tirchak. It says Midvar Shekar Tirchak, right? So we know you have to stick to truth. So there's a story that I just saw. I never saw this story before, and any story that from the Kutzker is awesome. So the Kutzker had a guy came for advice. A family member needed surgery or not. The doctor said to do it, but we go to Rebbe's. So the guy came to the Rebbe and said, "Should I do it?" So he said, "Listen to the whole thing." "Yep." So he said, "Yeah, but I don't know if I should do it because of X, Y, and Z." Rebbe said, "No, I think you should do it." He said, "But you should just know that my daughter, she's into medicine. She's in college or whatever. She's a bucky in medicine, and she said not to do it." Rebbe thought. He said, "Still, you should do it." He said, "Yeah, but Rebbe, can the Rebbe think about it again? I really think we shouldn't do it.
Why did you
And
ask?
the Rebbe sits there, thinks again, and says, you should do it. And the guy says, okay, fine, he leaves. His Rebbitzin, the Kotzker Rebbitzin, you don't hear about the Kotzker Rebbitzin a lot. She said, I cannot believe you gave that guy light of day. Well, chutzpah and stam, the guy's drinking cup. What, you told him what to do? Even if he wants to ask once, but to continue. He said, chas v'shalom. He said, why? Every word coming out of that yid's mouth was MS. He said, Rebbe, I don't think you should do it. MS. He said, my daughter is an expert. His daughter Taka is an expert. MS. He said, Rebbe, try to think again. Maybe you shouldn't do it. MS. What? I shouldn't listen to words of MS? That's how the Kotzkers were, that they were fire for truth. The famous story of the Reb Yitzchak. You could bring it out for different reasons, but that he, saw a Yid eating a big fat burger on Yom Kippur, so he said, Reb Yid, are you deathly ill that you have to eat Pikuach Nefesh? No! He said, maybe you missed the fact that it's Yod Tishrei, it's Yom Kippur today. No, I know it's Yom Kippur, I'm not deathly ill. And he turned to Hashem, Ribbon Shalom, Mika Amcha Yisrael. Even a guy eating on Yom Kippur won't say a lie. He would never utter a lie. He just tells me as it is. There's a beauty to speaking the truth. And when we come to connected to the last point of the parsha, which is Nasa v'Nishma, which is a big part of our lives, a big part of Yiddishkeit is the whole Nasa v'Nishma deal. And so the famous joke, what we've said before, and we've spoken about this whole Nakuda, I think actually Purim time last year, in Facebook, March, whatever. Go back, as long as they don't start net neutrality, I'm still allowed to put 50 zillion hours of Facebook hours of video on it, and they don't charge me anything, Baruch Hashem. So you could go back to all the shirim. But the famous joke, why the Litfishers wear the necktie and the Hasidim wear the gartels, because, they want to close off their heart and their mind, and the Hasidim want to keep the heart and the mind together, closed off from the lower parts of the body. But again, you could be a Litvak, not wear a gartel and still have it connected, and you could be a Chassid with 14 gartels and still have no connection between your heart and your mind. The Nakuda is the premius.
How do the Litvaks block off the heart and the mind?
Because they tie it tight.
Oh, tie?
They tie a tie around their neck, which closes their mind from their heart.
Chassidim don't wear ties.
Right.
They hold it's usher or just not part of their garb?
It's not about
Bechitzonius, they want to connect their heart to their mind, and therefore they wear a gartel that separates the lower half extremities, which represent more desires, from the top half. But that's the Nakuda. The Nakuda is for the pneumius,
no,
right?
I'm saying according to Allah, there's no chiyuv to work out because the hands block it.
The Nakuda.
Wears the necktie.
The Nakuda.
All right, no.
The Nakuda is the pneumius.
Yasha said it's like a woman's garb or something.
The Nakuda is the pneumius. What is it? Why do we want to have a connection? The tefillin shel yad, the tefillin shel rosh. Why do we put on the tefillin shel yad, tefillin shel rosh? Why do we say nasa? Why? Because we say nasa v'nishma. We're going to do. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the first thing is that we don't care what it is, we're going to do. We're going to put the tefillin on our arm. And then Nishma, we want to understand, we want to hear, we want to know what we're going to do, and we want to have understandings in it. But also, they represent, Nasa as just doing is the heart. The tefillin shel yad is connected the heart. And the tefillin shel rosh, the Nishma, is understanding things. We want to have both. We want to have a vibrant connection between both of them. So in the past, I used to always think about this, that the main connection that we want is that we learn a lot of stuff. We hear shiurim and we learn svarim and we hear this and we hear that and we hear Rabbi Weibo. We meaningful minute. We have all this inspiration going on in our lives, right? And it goes in our mind and it flops around. Sometimes you say it over. You forward it to 13,000 people, and then it goes right out, right? And the next time we have a situation that comes up that it touches our heart. Nothing. Why? Because it's in our mind, very nice, and it floats away, and that's it. It never went down into our heart. So there's a whole avodah of dripping all of the mindfulness that we have into our heart. And the Musar movement calls it ispailos, to repeat a pasuk over and over and over again until it drips into the heart. The Chabadska says boninus, to sit there, mamish, focusing, quiet, bringing your heart, mindfulness into your heart. And the Breslevers scream in the forest, open my heart, and I learned this thing, please Hashem, change the Torah that you learned into tefillah and bring it into my heart. Whichever way you want to bring it out, do it. Bring the mind into the heart. But there's a totally opposite direction that we're forgetting. The opposite direction is bring the heart into the mind, which means that usually we close ourselves off both directions. Not just that the heart doesn't want to feel anything the mind is going through, but the mind doesn't want to deal with anything that the heart's going through. This is a famous thing that a guy named Sarno created with the whole Sarno method of healing people. He said that lower back pain and almost all chronic pain comes from the mind. And he said that you can heal it by the mind. Oh, some sort of heebie-jeebie. No, he explains it very clearly. The mind is going through some sort of stress, trauma, dealing with some sort of issue, and the mind doesn't really want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with that issue. So what does the mind have a capability of doing? Subconsciously throwing that painful issue into the body. Generally in the most vulnerable place, which is in the lower back. And so you're walking and all of a sudden, your back goes out. You're like, oh my gosh, and you're in bed and you're getting hot compresses and cold compresses and taking medications and going to doctors, and you think, my brother-in-law did this, he went to the doctor and they said, slipped hernia, disc and this, surgery, massive open back, take it out and do it this and reconstructive back surgery. He read the book on Sarno, and Sarno basically says, just find the stress. Find the thing that's bothering you. You started a new job and you're really nervous about what's going to be with the new job, and you have no parnassa now, and how are you going to pay the bills? Is it going to work out? I said, nah, that's stressful. But I'm not stressed out about it. I'm fine. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. Nothing's stressing me out, And so the pain's just, and the second that you find the painful experience that you're going through and take it into the mind again, you just feel, Ad Kedei Kach, my brother-in-law went back, and there was no slip disc anymore. The physical reality of his back, which you could see in x-rays, wasn't there, and he got healed. I went through the same thing afterwards shortly, and it did the same thing. I try to do that whenever the body and the heart has ways of telling you what's going on that are beyond description.
Tells you to deal with it or just to find it?
The body and the heart don't tell you anything. You have to open your mind to be able to listen to it. Meaning the body sometimes will feel a pain, and it'll feel a pain. So I once actually told this to a friend of mine that was going through crazy, he was going through a lot of hardships and he was going through a lot of pain in his lower back. So I told him the whole deal. And I said, listen, this could be from stress-related things, you're going through this and that. So he said, I'd rather go through the pain in my back than in my mind. In my back, I'll go to a schwitz, I'll put a hot compress, I'll take some medications, it'll be better, it won't be better. In my mind, what am I going to do with it? It's true. There's a certain theory that might be true. But in the end of the day, it's just going to go from there to the knee, to the this, to the that. It's not going to be a good situation. Nasa v'nishma, connect the heart to the mind. Listen to what your heart's saying also. Often your heart is actually so alive and so passionate about things, but the mind doesn't want to deal with the heart. I don't want to hear your passions. Sometimes you're very passionate about the wrong things. But the heart is the most truthful muscle in the entire body in a person. It's pure truth. A child feels and expresses all his feelings right away. And it's crazy and it's volatile. And you don't want to be like a child necessarily. You want to be like an adult, and you want to be able to handle things. True. You want to be able to walk through the streets and not, burst into tears or get super angry at the storekeeper that, it's true. You have to be able to balance yourself. But like Reb Nachman says, it just takes some time to do this, or whenever it is, to be conscious in Shemona Esrei. You stop for a minute, Shema Koleinu, or wherever it is, take some time and say, my sweet heart, how do you feel? And listen to him. And often, all of this hardness that we're feeling, all of these things that we're feeling that we don't feel connected to our heart, all this kriros, all this amalek that we're like, what's going on? I have no passion in my life. I don't even care about things. It's not true. You have tons of passion. Our minds are not connected to the passion that we're feeling in our own hearts. So, an example, this actually my chavrusa told me, which was interesting. I told him that I had an issue with my knees. My knees went out, and this is also one of the most common things. The knee goes out, right? My knees. I got a bad knee. A busted knee. I have to go for reconstructive surgery. He said, wow, you must have been holding heavy weights on your shoulders. I said, no, I don't. I have my book bag. He's like, no. On your shoulders. What were you carrying on your shoulders? And I was like, wow. I thought about it. I was like, I was carrying a lot of stuff on my shoulders then. There's a lot going on that I had to carry. He's like, take it off. Take it off your shoulders. And he realized that, and I said, it actually healed itself. That was the weirdest thing. I was going to doctors and stuff, and eventually after like a half a year, it healed itself. It was amazing. I never understood why. And he said, because those things went away. So often and very much you have stuff going on in your heart, stuff going on in your body. Listen to your heart, Nasa v'nishma, connect your heart to your mind. Listen to your heart, listen to your body, and connect them, and you'll see also then that we don't have to create fire. The fire is already within. Hashem should help that we should be zeicha to megala the fire and serve Hashem with passion. Be zeicha to mechias hamalek and the Mashiach tzedkina barachim gedolim b'nei v'yaveinu mamish. Amen. Shkoyach. Have a great Shabbos.